Okay. I'm Peter, still recovered alcoholic. And we're going to try to get moving this next session if I don't get sidetracked. I have notes. Sometimes I read, sometimes I don't. I bring them with me. I don't know if I'm going to be inspired to go to them. I have no idea usually what I'm going to talk about when I do these things. I kind of like it that way. I hope these talks are just a reflection of what I've been doing prior to getting here. So it's never scripted, and I really depend upon God to do this stuff, and hopefully it'll be of service to someone. So off we go. I say recovered because I am. Anything less than that would be falsely humble. And not cured, and not recovering, but recovered from a singularly hopeless state of mind and body, which is the first promise in the big book, recovered. And just to be some basics, when we say recovering, it means we're still experiencing the symptoms of the illness and those cycles that go with it, the ups and downs and ups and downs. And you break your shoelace at 6 a.m. and you say it's going to be one of those days. And cured is that the symptoms are removed. The illness, I should say, is removed. We're no longer alcoholic. I'm cured, so now I can drink safely. And I'll never be cured. My book is clear about that. But recovered is different. The symptoms of this illness have been removed. Obviously, the drink or any other substances, and the other things I was talking about earlier. And so I'm not experiencing those kind of cycles. And the valleys aren't as deep, and the mountains aren't as high. The valleys that we do step into, because we will from time to time, or get further and further apart. The human condition, we will step into a valley. I don't know if we'll have time this weekend. It's something called Dark Night of the Soul. It appears to be a very deep valley, and it's actually a complete rebirth and a shedding of much skin. So I get clear on step one what I suffer from. I'm an alcoholic, I'm going to drink. And they bring us to step two. It's the life raft. That this power greater than me, this G.O.D., group of drunks for good orderly direction, coming from a gift of despair, which is a necessary ingredient for folks like me to lock on to something, to be teachable, to be open. This G.O.D. is going to take me to a place of sanity, wholeness of mind, truth, God. And when I'm locked in with that, I'm experiencing oneness with that. That same mind, which was my biggest enemy, is not telling me or trying to convince me to do unspiritual behavior, make it spiritual, make it appear to be spiritual, convince me it's spiritual, and certainly not to drink. So if I'm not drinking and I'm not behaving in a certain way, I have very little drama and turmoil, and I'm certainly not experiencing the craving because I'm not drinking. I'm not on a run. And depending on how awake I am, because a lot of times we go through life sound asleep thinking we're awake, spiritually sleeping. But depending on how awake we are, and how we truly surrender to God, and truly take the direction given to Him, to us by Him or through a teacher or sponsor, will really determine how I'm taking these crossroads when they appear. What's my behavior really like? I'm not talking about perfection, but I will say this. Our book says we are not saints. And there's another book that says, it's a journey through humility rather than the striving or the struggle for perfection. But I will say this. We were all born to be saints, like it or not. We need to start acting like it. I do. We right away think saints, I have to go through some kind of turmoil and need to be called. No. You think about the work we do here, and I don't want to blow AA up into something for some of our egos to hook into, but if you think about some of the work we do in AA, anytime I had to share my life, the inner workings of my mind with someone, they charged me about $150 for 50 minutes. And even though I was bleeding to death, they said, oh, look at that, time's up, see you next week. Think positive thoughts for the rest of the week, Peter. You'll be wonderful. Next, we don't do that. Think about the 12-step calls, the interruptions in our normal routine, the cleaning up a dirty drunk, throwing a drunk in a shower because they just soil themselves, and not asking for money afterwards, sharing with each other, all of it. That's what saints do. Some of us saints were the biggest sinners. That's what we do in AA. I had to learn, though, as I look at this power called God, that this power was going to restore me to sanity. That was an arrival. I was going to get to this place. I was going to come to believe. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Right? We have the Bill Wilson white light experience, or some of us have it, the educational variety over time, which the Spiritual Index so beautifully writes about what we can experience. But remember, when God shows up, God shows up. It's sudden, it's profound, it's life transforming. It's an impact. And if we don't get it one time, we can keep going to that well. It never empties. But we will get to this place of sanity, of wholeness of mind. So it is a pointer to the solution. But sometimes there are struggles at that moment, prior to it, and even afterwards as we're on this journey. There are some struggles in life. Life doesn't appear to be very fair often. Loss of a loved one, sickness, loss of a job, children are sick, children are on a run, we don't know where to play. I mean, just life happens. Our own mortality we look at. I do that I'm 56. From time to time I look at, well, how much, what am I getting called? We do that. Life doesn't appear to be fair. But I need to look at what's constant and pristine and consistent, and that's God. But when life does kind of surround us, you know what I'm talking about, where maybe going through a divorce, or maybe finances are just, they have fallen apart, the kids are sick, the loss of a loved one, whatever it might be, and life is surrounded you, and you can't breathe. I've been in those positions, near bankruptcy, back against the wall. How am I getting out of this one? God speaks through brick walls. My sponsor sat with me. He says, Peter, God speaks through brick walls. And I didn't, it's when the sponsor gives you one of these considerations. Oh, here we go. It's going to be a long phone call. Because I have to figure it out, And he broke it down for me. And one of the things I had to take a look at is, how can I serve God when I'm a slave to the world? When I get caught up in a new fad, that the new jacket, the new jeans that are out there, the new dude that everyone's wearing, the new car, that has become more important than my quiet worship to God. That has become more important than me working on some drunk. The new fad of books. AA gets hit with these new wave of books. Everyone's into it. I have a book there that's fallen apart. I've been working forever. When that book first came out, every AA member made sure, hey, you see, I'm reading this. I'm Moses. I'm reading this book. There's new fads that hit. And we think that reflects the change, our willingness to change. Really what it's doing is just stroking the ego. The change that occurs in us will be manifested in our behavior, because the depth of our willingness is manifested in our behavior. God speaks through brick walls. So some of us are in step one, learning what we suffer from, and experientially looking at what brought us in here, and really coming to terms with, I'm doomed here in step one. And some of us, like me, we get along a while, and there's a job loss or a breakup and bankruptcy, and going, oh my God, how am I getting out? God speaks through brick walls to get our attention. It looks like this. I don't know about you, but if I'm in trouble and there's brick walls around me, the first thing I'm going to do is try to punch through it. Try to climb over it, dig a hole under it, and I start to bleed from my hands. I start to become exhausted. I get completely frustrated. I start cursing, and I give up, and I hit my knees, and I say, I can't do this. I'm in trouble. Help, if you're really out there. And then God says, look to your right. There's a little doorway. Walk through. Couldn't see it. For us, God will speak through brick walls. We create, by the way, very often we manufacture the brick wall. We're the construction guys. Life is going good? Let me screw this up. Why not? I love drama. Our book says we pull the whole structure down by a senseless series of sprees. We're in a wonderful relationship. right? Wonderful man, wonderful woman, everything's good. I even got a job. I'm able to support them. This is going to be great. I met the woman of my dreams, the man of my dreams. Maybe I'll cheat tonight. Why not? I just got this great job. I don't think I'll show up, though. You know, we do stuff. We build the brick walls. We're the construction guys. And then sometimes life just happens. It's just unfair. Sometimes it seems like it's really unfair. Why me? How come not them? And there's a brick wall, and I need to surrender. And how do I get past it? Sometimes, and this is just my experience, those barren times, some of us have had them. You feel like you just can't connect. I'm praying, I'm in the trenches, I'm begging for, I just can't lock in, I'm not experiencing anything. We are, when we look back. Sometimes God has given me that so I can re-identify with the drunk who walks in who's also barren. And sometimes God will give that to me just to get my attention. Remember the path, Peter. Remember the path. Remember our agreement. I will feed you, but come to me first. So there's a reason that things have evolved, and at the time, and I trust me, I wish I can see it. I've gotten a little better with it, but I wish I can look back and say, yep, there's God talking to me. This is a little journey for me to walk on so I can become enlightened. Sometimes you just can't see it when you're in the middle of it and saying, hey, why is this going on right now? I can't see the way I'm being pruned at the moment. And sometimes, quite frankly, we see some folks who aren't so ethical just seem to be getting successes. And here we are really trying to do right, and we're making it from week to week, and like, hey, where's the justice? And the rain, it rains on the just and the unjust. And the crops, the weeds grow with the crops until harvest time. And we all have a harvest time. And what he does is get the weeds and throws them away and takes care of the crops. So sometimes we're in this, our neighbor, our workers, whatever it is, we're saying, why am I going to meetings, trying to be spiritual? Joe is an embezzler. He has this nice car, this big house, this beautiful wife, doesn't go to AA, drinks sociably, and I'm in a detox on a Friday night. Hey, God! Until harvest time. And then the weeds are just thrown in the fire. So I chop wood and carry water, because I get to. So chapter 2, Agnostics, talks about, how, where, and why to find this God. Where? The great reality is deep down within. It's been with us all along. When I was on the drunk of drunks, God was with me. God's with the crackhead right now in the crack house. God's with the drunk on the bridge right now. The great reality doesn't go away. We just lose contact with it. Why? Because I see other people solving their problems upon a simple reliance of this power called God. And how? Lay aside old ideas. Lay aside prejudice. It's a great prayer to work with. God, please let us lay aside everything I think I know about the big book, 12 Steps, AA, and you, God, for an open mind and a new experience. God, please let me see my truth. Agnostic sets it up for us. Sets it up for us. I came in agnostic. I knew there was something out there. He didn't like me too much. I'll worry about it when I die. But right now, got to do what I got to do. And it kind of paints us into another corner again. Is God going to be everything or nothing? It asks us this. It asks me, God can be everything or nothing. What's our choice to be? Well, based on my first step experience, he better be everything, because on my own, of myself, I am nothing. The Father doeth the works. God has been so patient with me. Can I not be patient with him? Can I truly serve God in any capacity and stop being a slave to worldly things? Oh, I claim I'm godly, but I'm really worldly. Watch my actions. Watch my words. Watch me after a meeting with the new girl in the parking lot. We'll see how godly we really are. Watch me when I go home. Am I really godly or worldly? Worldly is great, by the way. Instant gratification. You can cut corners. You can lie. You can be treacherous. You can be deceitful. It's wonderful. You seem to succeed that way. Godly sometimes is a little bit tougher. Constantly being forged out on an anvil, scraped away, and the master craftsman constantly molding the clay. It's kind of like this. A sculptor gets a block of clay. He doesn't add to it. He pulls stuff away in shapes. That's what he does. He sees. That big blob, he sees a vision in that. Let's pretend I'm the clay and it's human. And every time the hammer hit it, I'm going to go, hey, that hurts. I don't like this. You're molding me. It's uncomfortable. And the craftsman says, I'm making a thing of beauty. Be patient. This is what happens to us. He's got it. We show up to AA a mess. We think we're wonderful, by the way. I'm not that bad. I look pretty good. My hair's natted, but that's okay. You know, haven't shaved in a week, but that's good. You know, God says, okay, got some work to do here. Here we go. As soon as we say, God, fix me, and he starts molding, and we're going to push back, we're going to get uncomfortable. He said, just be patient with me. I've been patient with you. You've been an embezzler, you've stole, you've been drunk, you've done drugs, you've cheated on your spouse, you've embezzled from your boss. I've forgiven you for all of it. Be patient with me. Let me walk you through the 12 steps. And step 2 is about getting us to this place. And chapter 3, Agnostics, introduces us to step 2. Lack of power is our dilemma. With power, no dilemma. Where and how are we going to find this power? That's what this book is about. It says its main object is to enable me to find a power greater than myself which will solve my problem. Not only the booze problem, my problem, which is living life sober. I cut class the day they gave the manual out how to do class. And the greatest thing I can come to terms with is my brokenness, because in that brokenness is where the light shines in. In the brokenness is where you identify with me and we identify with each other. If I got up here and gave you some flawless talk about how pristine my life is, half of you would leave. Because you know I'm a liar. But when I share with you not only the hope, but my experience of not only getting sober, but my brokenness, you say, yeah, I got it. That's me. And that's how we heal. So chapter 2, Agnostics, also gives us some current unmanageability. They're called the bedevilments on page 52. Having trouble with personal relationships, can't control my emotional nature, prey to misery and depression, can't make a living, full of fear, feeling of uselessness, can't be of help to other people. Are these things happening to me with regularity? Not the occasional, I'm fearful today. I've had them. You know, me and a coworker, we're on different pages today. You and the wife or the husband, we're bumping heads over the kids. Or we're just hitting a little thing now. Something's not right. We're not living there. Or perhaps I live alone and I'm home and everything is good. And my mind says, no, it isn't. Remember that time. And I'm starting to churn in the head again. And I'm having difficulty. Those are bedevilments. Bedevilments is something that torments, frustrates, and harasses me. It's constantly at me, constantly at me. If someone did to me what I did to myself, I'd beat them up. It's my greatest enemy. So we're going to get to this place. Power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, wholeness of mind, not only with the drink, but in life. Growth doesn't occur until I step into the unknown. And I'm about to do that. I mean, coming in my first step, when you guys gave me that information, I said, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me. I get it, totally me. I drank like that, I couldn't stop. That's me. Now what? Because you got to find God, unknown. Step 1 was, for me, in a sense, a surrender. I look at step 2. I'm about to, look at this God as a solution. Say, okay, I'm going to take this journey because they're telling me this is the solution, which is you. Another surrender. Step 3 is a surrender. When I put pen to paper in 4 and I'm putting it out and I'm going to God in order to put it out, a surrender. I sit down with you in 5 and I'm about to unload my 4th step to you in something called step 5. It's a surrender. It's total vulnerability. We're wide open. 6 and 7, I'm going to God again. This is what's left of my brokenness. Here's my first step of life. This is it. This is me on paper, my brokenness. Please heal me from this. Another surrender. I make a list in 8 I'm putting on paper, these are the people who perhaps I hated. I'm about to go make amends to them. And if I don't do this, I'm surely going to drink again. A surrender. When I show up to your door because I've harmed you, I'm wide open, total vulnerability, force feeding of humility. I've harmed you. I'm here to make this right. I have to do this. I get to do this or I will drink again. A surrender. 10, 11, we're growing in understanding and effectiveness. What are we doing? At our little altars or wherever we pray, on our knees. Father, guide me through this day, because if I run it and the idiot's running it, I'm surrendering again. The whole thing is one big, for me, surrender constantly. But ain't that great? That I get a power to go to surrender today. It's real dialogue with God. It's intimate communication with God. I'm not telling God my solutions. What a fool I am. What a hypocrite I am. Hey, God, you know what I need? This, that, okay, got it? Good. See you at 12. I'm going to be disappointed regularly. Because any of us have children, you know, they could pass Toys R Us and they want everything. And even if you have oodles of money you would love to give them, but you know, if I give them everything, what I'll create, a monster. And perhaps that one you're not ready for, and this one might be dangerous, and that's not educational. So we make nice selections for the enrichment of our children. When did I become an adult in God's eyes? When did that happen? I can be the head of vast enterprises, gone to the best Ivy League schools. When did I become an adult in front of God? Oh boy, am I in for a rude awakening. I'm 56. My dad's 78. Bless his heart. My dad, even though he knows I'm an adult and I have a nice job and I do this, my dad still sees me as his son. Which means he still remembers me running up to him and sitting on his chest and falling asleep. He'll always see it that way. An adult, but he's my son. He's a child. Why should God be any different? I need to be clear. I'm a child of God. Not childlike, although we could be. That's kind of fun. Not immature is what I'm going for. But child to God. Am I going to do this walk? Step 3 says, I'm about to make a decision to go there. So I can decide to get into shape. And I go to the gym, and I pay an obscene amount of money for a membership. I get all the new shorts and all the nice gear. I get my big water bottle. You can tell new people at a gym because they have water bottles all over the side. I run. I run and I bike a lot to keep in shape. And you can tell the new ones on because they're running with these big bottles, hanging over their back to run. If you're not that thirsty, stop it. Just go run. They pay. So I go to the gym. I pay a lot of money. I get the new gear, and I got the nice card that says I'm a member of XYZ gym. And honey, I'm going to get in shape. It's a new year. I haven't done anything yet. I spent a ton of money on this stuff, but I'm still eating, Entenmann's cake. And then I go to the gym, and I walk around, and I examine the place. Just to get a feel of it. And, she looks awfully good. Let me look this way, because I'm here to work out. And then you got the muscle heads who are posing in the gym all the time, and you say, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe this is not a good idea. And I'll come back tomorrow. I feel a little intimidated, back hurting, I'll do it tomorrow. And you walk in, I'm going to go right to that bench press, and you get on and say, damn, it's heavy. I didn't think it was this heavy. And you haven't really done anything yet. So I haven't done anything yet, which means I haven't done anything yet. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I said, well, you know what, I'll speed walk, and nothing ever happens. So I need to take some action here. And I have people in AA who are bearing witness to this great power. And if someone came up to me in gym and said, hey, you new? Yeah, I know how you feel, man. You're feeling awkward? My name is Pete. Let me just show you around to some of the equipment. I'll help you out, or I'll spot you in a couple of things. Don't do those exercises. They're bad for you. Do these. And we got a little thing going on. In about 6 months, you're looking fantastic. and different eating habits, etc. We come into AA and people are bearing witness, are living examples of this power. Are living examples of what it's like to turn our thinking and our actions over to God and know how frightened we are, know that we're stepping into the unknown for the first time, that it's kind of gray. It's not real tangible. They say, I did it, man. Just let me walk you through this. I got you back. Or I can say, I'll wait. I'm good now. I'm good. I'm making meetings right now. I'm paying attention to my meetings. You know, I'm reading a lot of Grapevine. That's going to do it for me. You know. No, it ain't, by the way. But I take Keith's hand, and Keith says, let me walk you through the work. In about 6 months, I'm into amends. And when you see me, you say, you sound different, you look different, you appear different, everything's changed. What happened? I took some action. And now I'm going back in the trenches to bear witness for the next one, whether they're new or around a while. Now, a buddy of mine has a great way to take a look at page 58, where it says how it works, which is our step 3, introduction to 3. Excuse me. And gets us instructions on 4. How what works? People say, I don't know how it works, but it works. I want to scream out, turn to page 58. It says, how it works. Okay. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed a path. And a buddy of mine says, it really looks like this to a lot of people. Rarely have we seen a person thoroughly follow this path. Right? Thoroughly follow this path. What's my grave emotional and mental disorder? When I was new in AA, I thought that was folks who had grave emotional mental disorder, psych issues. But it was pointed out to me as an alcoholic with an alcoholic mind, that's my grave emotional mental disorder, that have a mind that'll take me back to that which is killing me over and over and over again. Am I willing to do this walk? It says I deal with alcohol, cutting, baffling, and powerful, and my experience is shown also very patient. It doesn't care how long I'm sober. Am I willing to serve God? Am I willing to seek out this power called God? Am I willing to surrender to God through a sponsor? Am I willing to keep a beginner's mind and always open? So step 2 is going to take me to this power, restore me to sanity, wholeness of mind. It's a journey. Step 3 is the walk. But I need to be convinced that my life run on self-will can hardly be a success. I go back to my first step. Okay, it's proof to me that me running life on my terms is never a success. There's a requirement. They tell us the only requirement for membership of AA is a desire to stop drinking. There are no musts in AA. That's the fellowship, the sacred fellowship. But in the big book, they just gave us a requirement that I need to be convinced that my life run on self-will is not going to work. And when we look at the first 164 pages, there are a lot of things, must, and a lot of shoulds, which is a subtle command. For example, if I go skydiving, Pete, you should pull the ripcord. You don't have to, but you should. And the first portion of my big book in the 3rd edition, nowhere does it say, just don't drink and go to meetings. Nowhere does it say in those instructions, put the plug in a jug. It does tell me about middle-of-the-road solutions, which is anything that doesn't give me clear-cut, precise, specific, exact directions on how to have a spiritual awakening. Now, those folks who say put the plug in a jug, don't drink, go to meetings, they mean well. This isn't about, as I said, I want to stay true to this, about they don't know what they're doing. Whether they do or don't, they mean well. They're not trying to hurt a new drunk by saying, hey, remember where you come from. It's all they got at that moment, and it has worked for them. I need to discern, hey, wait a minute. I'm the real guy. I tried that. I keep getting drunk. Let me go to that big book guy who I don't like in the back of the room and ask him. He might have a way out for me. It's really interesting. When we're out there, and I'm going to talk to some of the folks who are into narcotics. We never did due diligence on getting a stock report or a report on where the drugs were made, how they were processed, who the factory workers were, right? Or when you went to the bar and order a Jack and Coke, You weren't too interested in who processed the Jack Daniels, how the fermentation process, was it done right? You just order and drink. Not much of a due diligence process. Besides, Keith is drinking, he's loaded, I want what he's got. What are you drinking? Jack, boom, give me one. Right? That's how we did it. We come into Alcoholics Anonymous and suddenly we need a due diligence on God. The big book, the steps, who the sponsor is. Let me find out all I can about the sponsor because I don't want to make any mistakes. I was putting money through a peephole and putting stuff in the body or going to a liquor store and just getting anything, just get me drunk, and suddenly I do due diligence on this stuff. I need to find the perfect home group. Well, it is perfect until I walk in. I see somebody giving a talk, I'm watching them in a meeting. They're joyous, happy, and free. They seem to be doing this thing. They're talking about the big book. Go say, can you sponsor me? But we do all this due diligence, this seeking. Let me make sure for it. Let me sit with this. Let me meditate. You don't even know how to pray yet. You're going to meditate to find a sponsor. What do? Just go ask. It's the same thing with this power called God. Trust me, this God will deliver himself to you or herself or itself to you. We just need to clear away the obstacles that are blocking us. If we put up a petition here, I could not see the gentleman in the back of the room. I cannot see the white van parked outside. I cannot see that the sun is finally out, thank the good Lord. I wouldn't know, but you guys are telling me there's a couple of guys in the back, it's a beautiful sunny day. I can't see it, but you do. I just have to push the wall down and suddenly go, oh, I know what they're talking about. It was there all along. So I need to uncover, discover, and discard the things that are blocking me from the light. I'm so used to being in the dark. In fact, when you bring me into the light, when God forces his light upon me, and God will intrude in our life, by the way. God is the biggest intruder known. He will interrupt everything. Do you ever get when you're acting out and something goes, this is really bad? It's not your mother-in-law, and it's not mom. It's him going, what are you doing? God will intrude. But I need to clear away the things that are blocking me from God. Uncover, discover, and discard. But I can't, it's interesting, I can't do that alone. I got to beg for this power out there, if you're even out there. Show me how to get to know you, because my life literally depends upon my relationship with you. My sobriety, everything hinges on my relationship with you. I need to lock in. Lack of power is my dilemma. I need a taste. I need something from you. And we find out it's been there all along. So we take a look at the third step prayer, which is really an oral contract to God. Third step prayer in the big book on page 63 is a beautiful prayer. The considerations for the third step appear on page 62 into 63. Third step prayer is on page 63. It says this is the how and why of it. The how and why of what? Of how to do this. And prior to that, on page 62, it tells us exactly what we suffer from. Selfishness, self-centeredness. That we think is the root of our troubles. The roots are underground. You can't see them. I'm driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, it's all about me. Even when I say, hey Amber, let's talk about you. What do you think of me? Is how we operate. It's always about me. All the time. Even when I'm doing something nice for you, it's about getting approval and making sure I tell everyone I did something nice for you. It's always about me. I'm a total hypocrite. Showing up to this prayer. I am a hypocrite. My life proves hypocrisy because I will tell you to believe in God while I'm stealing from you when you're not looking. I'm a liar. I'm a hypocrite. And this is about shaping this mess to be a direct reflection of this power. But I need to get stuff out of the way. It says this is the how and why of it. First, I had to quit playing God because it didn't work. I mean, it can't get any more clearer than that. I had to quit playing God because it didn't work. God's going to be my director. He's the principal, I'm his agent. An agent represents the principal. Athletes and entertainers have agents. The agents go around representing the athlete. We go around representing God. Think about this for a minute. How am I doing? God says, here, go represent me. How am I doing? Go fix my sick kids. How am I doing? What an order. He's the director. My brother's an actor. I learned a lot about this stuff. The director's the boss on the set. With the biggest actors, they will surrender to the director. Professional respect, whatever it might be, the director is the boss. This is how I want this scene to look. And when you don't do it, he says, cut. Let's try it again. I've had a lot of cuts in my life, cut. So God's telling me, listen, Pete, I need you to be there, okay? And I finally get it. He's the Father, we're His children. My dad will provide me, even till this minute, what I need. Parents give children what they need, not always what we want, right? What they need. The first one is unconditional love, which is what God's about. When we talk about unconditional love with God, this one I learned, by the way. God's love is unconditional. God's all love, no opposite. I've said that a million times to the podium, but I got real clear. I don't even know what that looks like. Because love is based on what I think the most pure, honest love. It's still my version of it. And maybe you hear, you say, no, Pete, it's a little bit like this. And you say, well, no, it's a little bit like that. So even though I have what I feel is a wholesome idea of what love is, I really don't know when I say God is all love and no opposite. Because when I hear all love, I hear no pain, no struggle, no disease or discomfort. Euphoria 24/7. God might have some other plans. In fact, if I got into God's head, I'd probably implode. If God came down and said, listen, this is why this is happening and that's happening, I couldn't even fathom that. There's a great movie where the famous line is, you can't handle the truth. If God says, well, here's the whole truth, you can't handle it, Pete. I don't get that, God. So even when I'm praying to God and I'm all love and no opposite, I'm clear that it's my version of it. Okay. Surrendering to God and doing 4 through 9, one of the things that came as I surrendered to God and thinking God is all love and no opposite, my version of it. The day and night, the clarity and the not being clear was this, that I've been going through life with the case of mistaken identity. And one thing about prayer, it'll bring to death that which we are not, if I'm making sense. It puts to death all these false illusions about ourselves, all these delusions about ourselves. And the thing about the third step prayer, when we're going to God and say, God, you take my thinking and my actions, we're surrendering. God, I made a mess of it. Your will, not mine, be done. Just fix it. I need to be clear here that I can't tell God now, well, hold on a second, let's reboot. Just tweak that one. This one needs a little chiseling. This one you can take. And do we really want to be transformed? What's the price of salvation? Because that's what this comes down to for me. Me being alive, sucking air right now and sober, I've been saved. Because based on my track record, even how I was hypersensitive as a young boy, and all the darkness that walked with me when I was 8 and 10, that should not have me in front of a podium or even sober member of AA. I've gotten literally plucked out for whatever reason and saved. What is the price of my salvation now? What am I willing to relinquish and let go of? And I come to the realization it was never mine to begin with. Nor is my relationship mine. My sponsor used to say, my wife, my husband, we take ownership. I have a marriage certificate. That's why we wind up in divorce court. It's this person that God has put to do this walk with me. I share this life with them. I share a life with them. What's the price for transformation, for salvation? So I go to God, and most of us have this sense of self, this false sense of self as to who we think we're supposed to be, where I'm supposed to live, what I'm supposed to be doing for who I'm supposed to be with, how much money. It goes on and on ad infinitum. These are troubles going into step 3 because I can't hold on to that. I need to stand before my Creator, and the further along we get in this work, and the more times we go through this work, it probably will get clearer it has for me, is that I stand before my Creator in the raw, with nothing. The way I came in, I'm going out the same way, by the way. Can I do that right now? God, I'm broken, and I'm surrendering again to you. Again to you. Those are some of the best words I can offer God. I'm broken, I surrender. The essence of step 3, what are we doing? God, I offer myself to thee. I'm offering me to you, to build with me, I said this earlier, and do with me as you will, as thou wilt. God, you do whatever you want with my life because I have made a mess of it. Park Avenue or Park Bench. Relieve me of the bondage of self. What sort of bondage do we have? Self and all its manifestations. Take away my difficulties. Same thing. Whatever difficulties we have. Me, not you. Unmanageability is an internal condition, never an external one. And as long as I'm a slave to worldly things, I will have difficulties and bondage. Because my car is my self-worth. That's me, that car. This house, look, I'm somebody because I own this home. I live in Boca Raton. I see this all day long. It's about getting stuff, big stuff. Get out of the big stuff, the car, walk into rest, make sure everyone says they must be a big shot. I see it all day long, and I say, but for the grace of God. What a lousy way to live. I heard a pastor say this. Man, is wonderful. He said, get a great job, easy. Be a millionaire, who cares? How about shooting for sainthood? Everything makes sense. Those words pierce me. I see that other stuff all day long. Quite frankly, it's nauseating. Take away my difficulties. That victory over what? These difficulties. I can be living proof to you of your mercy, your love, your way of life. God, may I do whatever you want from here on out. I don't know what that is yet. It's only step 3. But I'm going in. There's no amen after the 3rd step prayer. So a genius like me says, oh, Bill screwed up. Forgot to put amen in. Got him. First mistake. My sponsor doesn't see it, but I do. And, got a whole afternoon left with me. So they didn't leave it out. It's the walk now. We've kind of opened the door. Before, I'll share. I look at this every time that there are things in the room, the lights are off, the shades are pulled down, the furniture's all over, and I keep tripping over stuff, and I'm getting hurt. I'm scratching my legs, I'm getting stitches, I'm bruising ribs, I'm cursing because of it. I'm going out there and I'm blaming people for this room that I have to come back to. I can't see nothing. Can't see anything. And I finally say, God speaks through brick walls. Please fix me. Heal this. I don't know what to do with this. And God says, okay, fine, take my hand. And he goes into the room, and the first thing he does is turn on the lights. I didn't even know there was a switch here. Raise the shades, more light. And I go, oh boy. He's, I got you. You asked me, I'm going to fix this for you. It's not going to be pretty, but we're going to fix it. Because I'm God. I can do this. God doesn't work for somebody. That's it. We're talking to the CEO here. And he says, look, this side of the room, put it this way, this furniture gets thrown out, that we'll put there. And in a short time, we keep the lights on, the shades up, and we invite people in. It's beautiful. My life was a mess. It was a dungeon. It was ugly. And I turned everything over to God in desperation. Guys, it's about going back to step one. Not the prior step. That never worked for me. That's step one, the desperation. The willingness to go to any lengths to get well. The willingness to go to any lengths to stay away from a drink. Okay, step 3, I don't know this God. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where He's sending me. But step 1, I'm going in. It's got to be better than what I've done so far. It's going home. And so I did the third step prayer. My sponsor, he had me write out the third step prayer word for word. Even all my sponsors had me do this. Write out the third step prayer word for word as it appears in the big book. And then write out my own interpretation of the third step prayer. And what I take into that is something that I forgot to mention before, an assignment that I did in 2. I was told to write down where I believe God's working in my life, here, here, and here, and where I think God isn't working in my life, a little current agnosticism. What things in my life am I afraid? I put it on paper, little spiritual assignment, in turning over to God. What's my fear in turning maybe my money life over to God, my career life, my family life? What fear am I having about turning this over to God? I lose control. What will happen? Some more current agnosticism, some more little obstacles. Those are some of the things that, okay, God, I'm going in to fix it. And so I wrote out my interpretation of the third step prayer. So when I got on my knees with my sponsor, I was hearing my language. God, I'm offering myself to you to fix me, etc. And then as soon as I got done with the third step prayer, we launched out a course of vigorous action. So the third step, with no amen, means it's a movement. We're going into the fact-finding. We're searching. Mission. It's a body of work. Uncover, discover, and discard. Third step prayer, we go in. The amen appears at the end of the seventh step prayer when that searching, that discovering, that uncovering, if you will, is completed for now. And we close that body up, work up with the amen. So here comes step 4. And there's an old joke, if you don't like your prospect and you want to get rid of them, get them into inventory. They'll find a new sponsor. All wrongdoing arises from the mind. If the mind is repaired, can wrongdoing exist? I'm about to fix this by surrendering to God. And so what I do is I make a prayer because I can't write a fourth step. Oh, I can write it, but it's empty. It's protective. It's ego. So what I do is I make a prayer to God. Thank you, God, for allowing me to be searching, fearless, and moral. A little tool. I write it across the top of the page, and I draw up a master list. It says I went back through my life. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. Remember, the mind can't take this journey, but the spirit will. I can only live out of the heart, out of the soul. I can't live from the mind. That has been the troublemaker. And so it's a dismantling of everything I thought I am. This false sense of self, these illusions and delusions about me and my life. They have not worked. I've been a hypocrite my whole life. And we're about to rip it out root and branch. It doesn't feel good. And when we're writing inventory, it isn't a cakewalk. I speak to some guys and I'm in step 4, everything's great. I says, what kind of fourth step are you doing? It's not an autobiography. I don't care about the good things you did. The big book's not asking about the good things you did. We want to get down to causes and conditions where you've missed the mark. We're not saying we're bad folks. We're not saying we're good folks. We're just listing what is. What's tangible here? And God will feed. Because if I try to write the inventory, I will remember things that don't make me look too bad, especially when it gets to the sex inventory. And we've been in those compromising positions. We've been in places that, oh my Lord. Well, God's going to say, no, put it on paper because I'm the one bringing it to your consciousness to put it down. God is actually writing this inventory when we surrender to Him. The pen becomes a spiritual translator. Anyone's written inventory knows at the end of the day, there's a tremendous amount of healing through that tremendous amount of uncomfortability. And things will come to us onto the pen that will go, where's this coming from and why am I writing this? It's this power who we ask for, Father, get me clear. He says, okay, I'm getting you clear. Let's list some of these things that have been in the dark, have gone dormant for a long time, have been tucked away in a treasure chest. They got to go. They've got to go, and He will bring it into the light. It's kind of like walking out of an after hours. You go, whoa. Bring stuff on paper, go, whoa. But anything that comes to us in step 4, if we're following directions, consider it divine. It's good because it's coming from Him who we just said, please heal me. If God forbid, someone went to a doctor, the doctor said, Joe, Mary, you got a little itty bitty piece of cancer. Just a little speck. Don't worry about it. They're not going to do that. We got to get that little thing out of there because it's going to grow. And we're on high alert. When we look at this inventory, we need to look at a resentment with that same sort of feeling. That one resentment will erode me. Fear. The fabric of my existence was shot through with it. It just corrode everything. That's how we need to. No resentment's acceptable. All are unacceptable. So we need to go back to the boss to get free of this stuff. And our book allows us not to go on to this long writing stuff. So we write down. What I would do is write a master list of names. People, institutions, and principles that I'm angry with. And when I do the work over and over again, I take a current list. I don't know who's going to appear on paper until after I pray. And I write mom, dad, brother, sister, co-worker, whatever it might be. Police department, IRS, government institutions. Principles. Don't drink and go to meetings. Real men don't cry. Whatever it might be. Right? And there I go. And then I'm done. Now I got some foundation. And I take that first name, which is the resentment. That's who I'm angry with. Second column is why I'm angry with Joe. That's called cause. Now it doesn't say, it says Mr. Brown, who he's angry with, his attention to my wife, period. It doesn't say, well, I met Brown about 10 years ago. He was a good guy. We used to play tennis together. And I don't know what got into him. He started flirting with my wife. And I don't know what to do. Maybe I should call my sponsor. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. It doesn't do any of that. Why am I angry with Brown? He's flirting with my wife. Period. It has me agitated. It has me fearful. It has me really angry. That's what they were asking us to do. Be precise. God will give us that. I always like to share this example. Resentment, mom, cause. She was an alcoholic, period. I didn't write down she tried her best and give this whole, biography on her. Just what had me in its grip. And so I complete the second column of all these folks. Very tangible, by the way. We find out it's all an illusion. I look at the third column, 7 areas of self, how they were hurt, interfered, or threatened. My pride, how I think others see me. No one should see me this way. My personal relationships, how I think a relationship should look. My self-esteem, how I see or feel about myself. My emotional security. This is the big one for me. My emotional security. I need you to make me feel good, give me accolades, play a role for me. I'm stepping into bondage, ambition, what I want, sex relations. How has this resentment or fear hurt, interfered, or threatened my sex relationship? Am I gone on a sex spree now? Am I demanding sex? Am I holding sex back? How do real men handle these things? My pocketbook, my money. How have these things been hurt, interfered, or threatened? To give you an example, my pride, no one should see me in a compromising position. No one should see me know that mom was in alcohol and committed suicide. Why? Who cares? I care, because you might not like me. You might think less of me. You might think I'm really screwed up. You might start talking about me. You might not hang out with me. You may not be my friend. I might be alone. I may become abandoned, alone. Oh my God, I'm going to die. My personal relationships, this relationship should look this way, fulfilling and nurturing and loyalty. And that's not happening right now because I think you're going to leave. You might think less of me. This relationship is being hurt, interfered, or threatened. I'm going to be alone. I'm abandoned. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Get it? And I don't want to be alone. And I'm scared to death of death. And it isn't even the dying, because that's an unknown. It's coming. while I'm alive, going to meetings. Impending doom is what they call it. I know it's going to happen. I know I'm going to be found out. We go through life this way, and we look to have good relationships with the opposite sex. Well, I got a truckload of resentments. Then we go through the fear inventory. We list the fears. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. Let me look at the fears. Why I have these fears. I'm selfishly trying to control this fear by what I'm doing to control this fear. I'm back in the managing department. I'm not trusting and relying upon God in any of these things. I'm trusting and relying upon me or you to fix the fear. How's that working out for you? And I'm trying to have relationship with people. So I'm driven by resentments, I'm driven by fear, and behind everything in the inventory is fear. So if we made it even more specific, more precise, fear is driving my entire life. Yet I want to have intimate relationships with people. And my significant other, if you will, when we get into bed, she has about 80 people. I have a resentment list about 200 people, plus the family members. We have about 400 people in bed. Now, I know some of that appeals to some of you guys in the back, but that's not what I'm talking about. You get what I'm saying? So you're driving in a car, I love you more. I can't live without you. Let's get married. But we forget, if we look in the back seat, we both got inventories that haven't been fixed yet. We have belief systems sitting back there. We have principles sitting back there. We have fear saying, don't do this. We got principles, institutions, the whole thing. It's a car full of people. It's like the Keystone Cops driving down the block. Yet we're into each other. No, you're not. We're into an idea of what this is supposed to look like. We'll figure it out as we go along. That makes sense? That's how we do life. Step 4 says we're going to fix all this. God says we're going to fix all this. And I do a sex inventory. Sex conduct. Our book says we're not going to be the arbiter on this. We're not here to judge. We don't care if you're heterosexual, gay. We don't care if you hang from chandeliers. That's not our business. Are you harming yourself? Have you harmed yourself? Have you harmed others because of the conduct? Have you told him or her, I love you, and not really meant it? Have I gotten involved in relationships that I could have done better with, or perhaps not gotten involved? Maybe been helpful instead of taking advantage? Have I gone to sordid places to that understanding person? Because she don't understand me and I have the secret life going on? What's behind all of that? Why do I do this? I don't want to behave this way. I never wanted to behave that way. I wanted clear vision. I wanted to be able to trust. I really want to have good relationships with the same sex as the guy friends, and an opposite sex in a partnership. Or maybe I really don't want to be in a relationship, but my codependency is erupting, so I need somebody near me. I need a victim. Just be there. And I don't know how else to do it. I don't know any other way to live. And I'm going to find out what's going on here. Because the drink is now, we're separated from alcohol. And if we just shaved off the tip of the iceberg, we got 20 miles of ice under the water. And that's what we're going in. God said, let's go look. Uncomfortable? Absolutely. And so I pray before I write, and it starts to be revealed. And anything uncomfortable, I thank you, God, for revealing this to me, quite frankly. And when I'm done for that session, I give thanks. Thank you, God, and put it away. We're shifting. Put it away. What I don't realize, even now when I'm doing it, is that I'm getting, not that there's a such thing as proximity to God, but I'm starting to get, if you will, closer to God. Who's allowing me to write this? Who's revealing these things to me? No. A quick story. The first time I did inventory, I sat down to write. I didn't pray, and I didn't write. I sat down to write, I didn't pray. This is a long list, this is enough. I sat down to write, and I says, well, he's going to hear that, so I'm not telling him that. And sex inventory, well, I'm fine. And and I was starting to feel dis-ease and discomfort. I'd sit down to write, and I was homeless a few months earlier, living in an abandoned building. I sit down to write and go, the rug should be vacuumed, a little lint on the rug, so let's clean it up. Make some coffee, make a whole pot of coffee to write a fourth step. I look like a crackhead trying to write the fourth step. Eat a little sandwich, I digest my food, watch a little TV, and I fall asleep. So I'm running into this jam, and I told my sponsor about it, and it was about seeking this power in order to be searching, fearless, and moral, and guess what? The fourth step got done. And I learned that. There was a bookshelf, I need to share this story, and we'll take a lunch break. There was a bookshelf that was with me. I don't even know how it showed up while I was using. It was in the corner of this apartment. When I got thrown out, I don't know where it went. I got married, it was there. I got divorced, it was there. I was living in Jersey, it was there. And then I left Jersey and it disappeared. This little bookshelf that I turned into a desk when I got sober, it showed up in my first apartment. I turned it into a desk. I had nothing. I had the apartment. There was nothing in the place. I had a little broken lamp, and I would sit near this bookshelf, and when I finally got right on what I'm supposed to do, I remember praying and writing the inventory. You know when you just start writing, the pen's moving, comes a spiritual translator, off you go. Very intimate moment with me and God. I'll never forget it. Looking out this little window, I could see a little tip of the Verrazano Bridge, because I lived in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and there was something comforting about that. That little light was God. You know how we get like this? And I'm writing, and this bookshelf was where I did all my nightly reviews. And I put this my books on there, and I'd read from there, and have a cup of coffee, and I burned a lot of hours through the night studying this information. And I remember reading the Bible for the first time on this little thing. I had this broken swivel chair. And I lost contact with the bookshelf. Well, a dear friend of mine from Jersey, Jimmy A. and his wife Maribeth, they came to visit me over the Christmas holiday. And Jimmy texts me, he says, come to your front door of the building. I got something for you. And there's a dolly, and it looked like a flat screen TV, this big monster thing. He said, surprise. So we go into, he close your eyes, and he unhooks the wrapping with a big red ribbon on it, and it's this bookshelf. Mr. Big Shot almost stopped crying in front of a room full of people. It's a silly, stupid bookshelf. It's wood, 2 shelves. It meant everything to me in a sense because of the work, that intimate God work. You guys know what I'm talking about. Your first big book. You showed a newcomer, this is my first big book. Somebody says it's a book, it's torn up. No, it's my first big book. And here it was given back to me. I got a lot of gifts for Christmas by loving people. They're all wonderful. The bookshelf, I was so happy. I was able to touch my past in a little way. So that was pretty good. I've done a bunch of these 4 steps. I try to do this once a year, at least. No more than every 2 years. Go through the work again. I like the effect produced by God. And I list, uncover, discover, and discard. If you haven't done inventory, maybe it's time you do. And see what's going on, what's driving, what are my attachments, how the mind is really my God, even though I'm praying to God. I'm still a slave to worldly things and not a servant to godly things. Okay, let's go to lunch. Thanks. One second.